Well, first it was electric stovetops, then solar panels, then electric vehicles. It goes on. And now the Climate Change Authority wants to make your life even more miserable and get you to eat less red meat. Joining us now is Nationals MP Keith Pitt. Keith, good to see you. Look, the government agency has suggested that Australians could eat less red meat to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So the question I've got for you is, will you be eating less red meat to save the planet?
No. Stop. Danica, I mean, how could this be serious? These people must live in another dimension. Toasted tarantulas for breakfast, kangaroo casserole for lunch. They're pretty tricky to master, kangaroos. I don't know if you've ever tried to move them around. And on a more serious note, there's this thing called diapause, where they can actually delay the production of a joey for up to a year. But secondly, here's where the nonsense starts. There's got to be almost 30 million feral pigs in this country, and I'd be happy to wipe them out tomorrow, every single one of them. And yet, guess what? Their emissions don't count. They don't count towards Australia's total. So it doesn't matter if you get rid of the feral ones, it's only the domestic pigs that are apparently causing a problem. When will this nonsense stop?
Well, Keith, I'm absolutely with you on your continued eating of red meat. I'm going to have a good steak as well, probably after this program. Climate Change Authority boss Matt Keane, who apparently will not be eating meat ever again, he was on Sky News this morning insisting nuclear power has no role in Australia's energy mix, which I thought was interesting because I want to show you this same person, Matt Keane, from just 3 years ago, saying that nuclear power was the future. Have a listen.
Do you think we'll ever have nuclear power stations in Australia?
Yeah, I think so. There's some exciting things happening on the nuclear front. So we're excited about the opportunities that technological innovation will bring. Into the future, will nuclear have a role to play? I think so, and I hope so. But right now, I can't bet on technology that isn't readily available.
So there you go. That's Matt Keane just 3 short years ago. Very excited and enthusiastic about nuclear power. Here he was this morning on Sky News.
What we've got to do, Andrew, is bet on technologies that do exist, that will lower emissions, but will also lower household bills. And that's wind, solar, backed up by firming. That's the pathway for Australia to not only do our bit for the environment, but also to help families with cost of bill pressures.
Keith Pitt, explain.
This guy's walking around with his eyes shut. There's nuclear all over the place. There's new ones in South Korea, the UAE, they've got them in the United States and China and France, England. Nuclear power is used around the world. The only place it's not used to produce electricity is right here. And what the federal Labor government wants every single one of your viewers to believe is that it's safe to put it in a submarine, but not on a block of concrete to produce electricity. It is a ridiculous proposition. And for people like Matt Keane, who I assume is an intelligent guy, to say that there's no nuclear technology in the world that works, well, it's everywhere. It has been for a long time, and we should use it. But I tell you what, if you want the cheapest, most affordable, most reliable power, you should stick with coal and just offset it. You offset everything else, so why not offset coal-fired power stations and we can just keep doing what we're doing? Cheap electricity that works.
Yeah, absolutely. Funny what a few years makes, hey?
Incredible.
Now, look, speaking of nuclear, Labor's launched a new ad targeting the coalition's nuclear policy. Here it is.
Peter Dutton's had an idea. Nuclear power stations. That will cost $600 billion to build and make up just 4% of the national grid. And when would that power switch on? Wait for it, 2040. And because nuclear is the most expensive form of energy for Australia, your power bill will go up to a mind-blowing $1,000 more a year. Has Peter Dutton really thought through his nuclear plan?
Keith, this is the first of Labor's attack ads to go to air. What do you think of it?
Well, they're the ones that are already building a reactor. It just happens to be in Britain. It's going to go into a nuclear submarine for Australia's use. So here's a government that's building a reactor right now, and one where they have an electricity proposal, an energy proposal for this country, federal Labor, that's been forecast to cost more than $1 trillion by Net Zero Australia. $1 trillion. It's like half of our GDP. And people wonder why their power bills are going up. We've got to get away from this ideological nonsense. You have to build stuff that works. We can't cover the country in solar panels and wind turbines that have to be replaced every 20 years. it will cost a fortune. And you're only right at the tip of the iceberg right now. This will get much worse under federal Labor.
Yeah, one more quick question, Keith. The Electrical Trades Union is planning a major anti-nuclear campaign as well ahead of the election. They reckon nuclear power reactors will mean less jobs for their members. Is that true?
Well, absolutely not. Nuclear energy just produces steam. Just like coal-fired power stations produce steam from their coal-fired boilers, the rest of it's all the same. It's the same trades, same turbines, same generators, same transmission, same transformers. I don't know where the ETU is coming from here, because the greatest danger for them is non-skilled labour installing solar panels, because they're what's known as ELV, which is extra low voltage. They don't have to have skilled trades to do that. You've got people all over the country using backpackers to install these things. That's where the ETU's risks are.
Yeah. Keith Pitt, great to have you on as always. Thanks for joining us this evening.